amount to anything at all, and yet that was the most devastating hurricane, did the most damage in it.
WeatherScope.
Welcome to WeatherScope, half past the hour on this Sunday morning. I'm Rick Griffin along with Will Annan. We appreciate you tuning in. Well, a lot of stormy weather to talk about around the nation today in the west and the northeast, and even parts of the southeast may be putting up with a little wintry mix, we think, overnight tonight and possibly early Monday morning in some cases.
That's true. We're even talking about northern parts of Georgia, but this is not the time to head out to your local grocery store within the next few hours and start stocking up for the next week. If you live in Atlanta, Georgia, not going to happen. You're going to be going off to work and school tomorrow. Well, I guess you won't. A lot of people have the holiday.
That's true.
So you may have the day off. Let's show you what's going on right now. We've got the forecast coming up momentarily with Rick. We're going to show you what's happening with the satellite picture. A lot of subtropical moisture beginning to gather right now over the Gulf of Mexico and just skirting southeastern Texas and also the southern parts of Louisiana too. Also, we're tracking a very strong disturbance this morning from Nebraska and Kansas, and we think that disturbance is going to spawn an area low pressure near the Gulf Coast, and that one could cause some rather hefty thunderstorms to redevelop this afternoon across parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, maybe in the northwestern Florida too, and track across extreme southern Alabama and Georgia later on this evening. A band of light snow this morning. We've been tracking that too over eastern New York State. A couple of flurries around New York City, but not a big deal. And again, we're going to talk about some windy weather too throughout much of the Central Plains this morning. Otherwise, we'll show you what's going on across the nation's weather map this morning. And once again, we're going to talk about a very powerful storm which is due into much of northwestern California and much of the coast of Oregon and Washington within the next several hours. Let's show you what's going on right now throughout much of the northeast. Again, we're looking at scattered areas of light snow or snow flurries from around New York City and the Boston and Worcester area all the way down to cover as much in New Jersey this morning too, and much in New York State. Very, very, very light snowfalls is occurring here. It should not be a big deal as far as traveling is concerned during the upcoming morning. Look at the temperatures right now. 34 in New York, 36 in Washington. It drops off to 26 degrees in Boston. Otherwise, you head back towards the upper Midwest. Now we're looking at some more traveling conditions and maybe some more travel problems here with some light freezing drizzle mixing with some snow around Lansing, Michigan this morning and heading back towards the west. Chicagoland is at 11 degrees, Green Bay 22, St. Louis is at 30 this morning, and then it quickly falls off to 7 in Des Moines, 4 in Sioux Falls, and you can see it's now 15 degrees degrees in Minneapolis. Factor in the wind, we're looking at some wind chill this morning. Temperatures have been knocked down to about 4 in Chicago with the wind chill, 5 below in Fargo, and it feels more like 1 below right now in Glasgow, Montana. Here's a look at the Midwest this morning. Again, we're tracking a very weak area low pressure again here, beginning to drift its way on towards the west. Maybe looking at some very, very light lake-enhanced snowfall across much of the eastern lakes through this afternoon, including much of the area around lower Michigan from Traverse City heading on eastbound, and we expect the same thing over western New York too a little bit later on. On radar, this is how it looks this morning. We can show you some very, very light snowfall from the Fox Valley northward towards Escanaba, Michigan, and Marquette and Sault Ste. Marie. The heavier bands of snowfall, and we're talking about still some very light precipitation, but it's heavier than just the plain flurries now occurring over Interstate 75 northbound over most of northern parts of lower Michigan, and then we pick up some more snows around Muskegon and Traverse City down towards Kalamazoo. Very, very light precipitation here, tracking now more towards the east and southeast. Looks like a beautiful start if you live in the southeast today, but boy, things are going to be changing rather rapidly already for this evening. Winter storm watches have gone out for later tonight and early morning tomorrow for extreme northern Georgia. Now, once again, if you live in the Atlanta area, no problems. It's going to be just plain rain, maybe a snowflake or two tomorrow morning, but basically we're talking about the extreme north central and northeastern mountains of Georgia picking up any appreciable snowfall, and that could be an inch or 2 or 3 as we see it now. Temperatures starting off still relatively mild for this time of the year. 30s, 40s, and 50s, working away from the Tennessee Valley down towards the Gulf Coast. So again, New Orleans at 52, Tampa 57. Could be looking at around to severe weather developing in this area by later on this afternoon, and especially overnight tonight through early morning tomorrow. Here's a look at the west. The big news now is going to be a strong front approaching the Pacific Northwest. Temperatures right now, Portland 47. And Seattle at 49 degrees with some precipitation coming down right now. It is all rain at the present time along the coast, including around Seattle and Portland. Don't have to worry about any freezing rain. And there is the strong system right there. That's going to be roaring into Washington, Oregon, and northwestern California. You can see on the weather map right now, here is the front. We'll move that thing in a little bit later on this morning into early this afternoon. It looks like a windy period coming up as well. Your national forecast, that's with Rick. He's coming up right now.
Okay, thanks, Will. We see the front at lunchtime just approaching the California coast. And, of course, it will be a strong front. Much, much colder air will follow it, and snow levels will come down quickly. In advance of the new storm, a very mild day in the Rocky Mountain region with the potential for some record warmth in Idaho and western Montana today with 50s in some locations. Somewhat colder air here. No big Arctic blast. Here's the low beginning to track across the south. By late afternoon or early evening, we have a low center near Jackson, Mississippi, an area of rain up into middle Tennessee to about Nashville. And from there north, a band of mixed precipitation, very wet snow and sleet. And again, as this low advances into the southeast overnight tonight into the early morning hours on Monday, there may be as much as 2 to 4 inches of wet snow if you live in an elevation of 2,000 feet or higher in extreme north Georgia, western North Carolina, East Tennessee, western South Carolina, southwestern sections of Virginia. The temperature pattern in the atmosphere, very critical, right on the fence with this one. So mountain locations snow, valley locations rain, probably the case in Chattanooga and Atlanta, as we've been mentioning. Precipitation could be locally heavy, especially in the west late today through midnight tonight, and especially after midnight. Teens today in Grand Forks, 80 perhaps in Brownsville, Texas, and 70s in Miami, 40s in New York City. We'll be right back.
When did you last go far from the lights of the blazing electric metropolis and look up? The 1998 Isuzu Trooper, equipped with a new advanced torque-on-demand traction system to go places the power company can't find.
Introducing Mediterranean, the first pasta sauce to take you beyond Italian to the Mediterranean. Mediterranean, rich, rare and remarkable, go beyond